Hello everyone, and welcome to another video. So this one isn't pretty leaves or anything. Well, depends on your definition of pretty. But I came across what looks to be a dead evergreen tree. And it's fallen below another ponderosa pine tree. So it's inundated with all of these pine needles and pine cones and just cool elements to look at. Plus all the dead wood that's just, jagged gray kind of thing. Makes for an interesting subject. In fact, I had a heyday kind of run around looking for compositions and kind of settled on where I'm at right now. Compositionally, what I went for was just kind of corner to corner, trying to get this piece of dead wood that's laying in and around and underneath all of these needles and just kind of fill the corners with the pine needles and a pine cone. Using my Fujinon 180mm lens, just pointing at the ground. Been pointing at the ground a lot since that storm came through. So I shot Fuji Velvia 50 on this. Took 2 exposures just for backups. And I had to count for a little bit of bellows extension because focusing on the ground, I had to extend the bellows a little bit. So I had to add a third stop for that. And then adding for reciprocity failure, that put me at 6 seconds f32 and a third. I debated about taking a color negative, but honestly, I think 2 Velvia shots would be fine. Given the choice, I might have actually shot Provia on this one since it's all earth tones, but I don't have any of my film holders on me. All I got is Velvia. So actually, I'm kind of curious to see how Velvia treats this scene. A little concerned that the deadwood's going to go a little blue, which naturally it probably will because it's reflecting sky color. But the entire scene is in reflected light. I think it's about perfect timing to shoot it. This whole sandstone wall is lit up in sunlight. It's sending reflected light in. So I got high hopes for this one. I hope it turns out. It's a little difficult to focus because I had to add a little bit of front tilt. And the slope of the ground here is kind of opposite of what my tripod is. So I had to use a little bit of front swing as well. Front tilt and front swing in order to keep the plane a focus traveling across my subject. And then there is a divot. It's like a little pothole in one corner of it. So I'm counting on depth of field to capture all the rest of the detail and at least acceptable sharpness. See how it turns out. So that's the skinny on that one. It's a cool subject. Really, really cool scene. It's definitely not fall color, but it's definitely very reminiscent of the east side of Zion because there are a lot of evergreen trees. Just a joy to shoot anyway.
Pretty blue. Also pretty blue. Yeah, that warming filter would have really helped on this one too. Kind of feel like a broken record on that, but I've learned a pretty valuable lesson here. And I don't think it was so hard of a lesson that it completely ruined my trip. I think I came out just fine. I still have good data to work with here. It's just that I'm having to fix more stuff than I would prefer to. So apologies for that. As far as the image goes, super sharp. That is just so detailed. Other than the blue cast, of course, there is so much detail in this. It's just a joy to look at. I think it's beautiful. The only thing that kind of wish I would have paid attention to in the field is one stick. There's this Y-shaped stick here. I realized that when I was breaking down the camera and packing up, like, could have probably thrown that out. But it's fine. I think it's okay, even with it. So my thoughts were having this fallen tree go from corner to corner and then filling the 2 opposite sides with pine cone debris would help it create an interesting perspective in the frame. And I think it works. There's this big break here in the middle that's just got more debris in it. I think I'm happy with the decision to do that. There's just enough pine cones that it isn't like there's a lot of needles here. It's a lot of detail. I think it's very interesting to look at. As a photograph, I guess that remains to be seen. We'll see how I feel when I get it scanned in and warm it up again, of course. So for all the things, unfortunate with Velvia going away, that's one thing I'm not going to miss is the strong blue cast. Of course, the other slide films do that too. It's just something I have to pay more attention to. Let it kind of run a little rampant on this trip, unfortunately. But I like the composition. It's sharp. I think it's framed pretty okay, minus the one stick that I might end up kind of burning down a little bit and then warming it up some. So, but as always, let me know down in the comments what you think. And here's the final image.
See, a lot of the fall color on the east side here is kind of migrated towards the tunnel or even lower. And even right here at the tunnel exit, a lot of the fall color is kind of starting to look like it's pretty done. And I'm kind of running out of wash to explore. Thing is, the closer you get down towards the tunnel, like right at the tunnel exit, it's a technical rappel to get down into the canyon there. So I'm not going to be doing that with my large format gear. But just before that is about the only section of this wash I haven't really explored yet. And it's looking pretty cooked already. And all the water has flown down into this area too and kind of settled in some of these little slot canyons. So it's impassable because it's full of water right now. So kind of out of east side to work with right now, I think. So it's just kind of repeating areas that I've already been in and trying to pick out details. And I've been doing that for the last couple of days. It's beautiful, but I'm working on my 9th day in the park here. So every trip there kind of becomes a time where you just kind of feel like, I think I'm done. I think my work is complete here for the time being. So it's the only thing I hadn't hit so far. So this morning I thought I'd come try, and it's not going to work. So instead I just figured I'd film some video and do some B-roll. Didn't expect to have an audience down here. So there's this yellow tree here in this canyon that looks like a box elder tree or something like that. It's at the entrance of this little slot canyon area. It's got a dark area behind it. It looks kind of cool. It's kind of almost intriguing looking behind it. I decided to shoot my last 2 sheets of Elvia on it. As you can probably see, that is not a Toyo camera. So a while back I actually bought this Intrepid Mark IV 4x5 from Scott Walton, and I will link to his video above where he's shooting with it. Thanks, Scott. He just happened to be looking to sell one, and I was looking to buy one, so it worked out. I bought it as a backpacking camera, and then never ended up going on a backpacking trip because it snowed. But it does make for a good backup camera too, so I've had it in the truck this whole time, and I haven't shot with it. It was the first time, so I thought that'd be a good goal for this trip is to run a couple sheets of film through it and see how it shoots. I gotta tell you, coming from the Toyo with all geared adjustments and stuff, it's a lot more work working with this one, but it's way lightweight, that's for sure. So I think it'll work out perfectly for what I had in mind for it. So I shot this tree at 180 millimeters with my Fujinon lens, and I shot at f32. My exposures were 6 seconds, accounting for reciprocity. I had to use just a little bit of front tilt, no bellows adjustments or anything. I'm far enough away from my target. It's pretty much infinity focus. Not entirely sure about the composition. It's all about this one yellow tree. The oaks behind it are long past prime. But that's that. Be interesting to see how these turn out. Hopefully it'll turn out well. And with that, I think I'm done with the east side washes. I really just wanted to get some film exposed through the Intrepid, and I've done that now, and I think I'm kind of tuckered out of east side washes. 9 days down here has been plenty, I think, and looks like all the color's done. So
Still pretty blue, as most of the Velvia images were, but not bad compositionally. It's okay. How about it's sharp, both of them. Even down here in the foreground rocks, it looks pretty sharp. So I'm happy with that. This are the first 2 exposures I've taken on the Intrepid 4x5 Mark IV. I mean, I have some thoughts on the camera. Some of them I shared in the field there. It's a lot harder to work with, to get focused than the Toyo is. It's part of the reason why I lug around this ridiculous heavy monorail in the field, because it's a joy to work with. Everything's geared and it's a tank and it's rigid. But this thing, it was a little more of a struggle to get it focused. And then I was kind of concerned about the fact that it can't lock to focus in like it can on the Toyo. So afterwards, when I'm putting fill holders in and out, I was trying to be really careful, make sure I don't knock anything around. But it looks like I was successful, so that's good. Compositionally, I really like how the colorful tree stands out, and the background, it's got this beautiful, sandstone wall in the back. It's just too cool, of course. At this point, you probably chimed in and commented several times about my blue film. So thank you for that. Sorry, I got one more for you here. Is what it is. I mean, color cast can always be removed. So not to worry about that. Exposure looks like it's pretty well dead on. This oak tree on the right-hand side here is completely done. All the leaves are gone off of this. And that's fine. There's just this one splash of green color here too. It's just so interesting this year how one tree would be done, just completely barren of leaves. And then the one right next to it would be green still. Like it doesn't even know what month it is. Looks like a little bit of that's going on here too. So I got a nice green splash right here, as well as behind the yellow tree. It was interesting when I was under the dark cloth, trying to set this up. And I kept hearing all of this kind of rustling around and clack, 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 wondering what the heck was going on. I thought it was just another photographer setting up beside me. And then when I came out of the dark cloth, I realized it was completely surrounded on all sides by sheep. So all the bighorn sheep had been climbing up around the sandstone walls behind me. It was kind of like a little amphitheater area. It was interesting just to be surrounded by bighorn sheep all of a sudden. It's quite a bit of footprints down here in the sand leading up into this. Some of those are mine because I had actually walked up through here on my way to try to go down the wash a little further, and then it immediately turns into standing water and gets muddy. So I turned around and came back and then decided to shoot on this. I don't think that bothers me. I was really adamant about just wanting to shoot the camera, not just like waste film on something around home, or like shooting pictures like in my backyard or something like that. I wanted to use it on an actual image that I would shoot, and I think it went well. Not sure it's the strongest image of my trip, just because this tree is really bare. There's kind of some negative space too, so I don't know. I might warm up to this image a little more. I think it's perfectly fine. I'm just not sure if I'm really stoked about it. I'm just really happy that it turned out sharp. And no light leaks or anything like that. So that's good. So thanks, Scott. Thanks for selling me your camera. It works great. So these were also the last images I shot of my fall 2021 trip in Zion National Park. All of these light table videos on this series have been my first look at the film. So this is my initial reaction to all of these. And so far I feel pretty positive about it. I think it was a successful trip, although I do have some things to work on. And there's some things I learned along the way. And that's also good. Yeah, so here's the final image. Likely warmed up again in post-processing. So let me know what you think. So hopefully you enjoyed this series from Zion this year, and maybe even some of the images that went along with it. And if you did, you can let me know by hitting the like button down below. And if you want to stay in touch and see what I'm up to next, maybe consider hitting the subscribe button while you're down there, if you're not already. With that, I just want to thank you again for watching all these videos and following along. Take care of yourself, and I'll catch you in the next video.